heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is PodtasticAudio.
Hey, what's happening? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here today. I am Chris of the world-famous Chris and Christine Show podcast. You can find that on the old interweb if you decide to look that up at chrisandchristineshow.com. Well, how is your podcast coming along? Do you even have a podcast? Maybe you're just thinking about starting a podcast. You're like, I don't even know where to even start. They might seem very overwhelming with all of the many different podcasts that are out there right now in the pod space universe. I mean, people are throwing around these big, massive numbers. Like, there's so many different podcasts out there. Like, how do you even compete with so many different podcasts? Well, one thing you probably should already know by now, at least, is to have some kind of decent sounding audio for your podcast. It does not have to be like super THX, like surround sound, like Dolby Atmos, whatever, the best of the best sounding audio. It just has to sound good and clean and clear no matter where your listener is actually listening to your podcast. Because you got to think, man, like, not everybody listens to a podcast with like studio headphones on in a super like clean sounding room, like a soundproof bubble. I mean, you listen to it in your car, it's noisy from the road. You might listen to it while you're mowing the lawn with earbuds on. I don't know who would do that, but some people do like to do that. God, it'd be so noisy doing that. I can't even imagine that. And some people like to listen to it while they're walking. Sometimes people just play them like right on their smartphone speaker, not even with headphones. Just play it right on the speaker on the iPhone or the Android phone, sit it on the counter and go wash your dishes or whatever else you possibly are doing, So if you have a podcast, you've been doing it for a little while now, I just want to say that congratulations that you've made it this far as you've made so far, because I know that it's hard to keep going doing a podcast, especially if like whatever your topic is, your niche, it gets hard coming up with new ideas. It might have the first 10 episodes down. Like, I know exactly what my first 10 episodes are going to be about. I'm going to get those and write them down. And then what happens when those are done? Like, what do you do? Or perhaps you have a guest that comes on every week and you're in a particular niche, whatever your niche could be. It could be, I don't know, schooling kids in kindergarten or something, I mean, how many kindergarten teachers and parents can you go through before you eventually, it's the same thing over and over again. It's the same kind of guests that you have coming in. I know some people like to branch out and they'll get different guests from different walks of life. They may have a mountain man on one day and a machinist another day and a principal on the other day and maybe a politician one day and maybe an actor if they're lucky or a movie star or something like that. I mean, you got to change it up. People do whatever they want to do. It's your podcast. You can do whatever you want it to do. And because today actually is Friday, as I'm recording this, I decided to let's have some fun on this podcast. It is all about the fun today. It's a fun day. As you heard from the intro, we're all about having fun. But before we get to all the fun stuff, which may annoy you if you stick around, but before we get into all that fun stuff, let's get over some data that I just dug up yesterday or the other day. It doesn't matter when I dug this up, but the point is this, is that you heard that there's over 4 million podcasts out there right now. And you're like, 4 million podcasts? How am I going to stand out in the crowd when there's 4 million other shows out there for people to listen to? Well, hold your horses there. 4 million. To be exact, I got the number right here in front of me. It is 4,114,335 podcasts available if you were to Google different podcasts in the podcasting index. Okay, that 4 million, that sounds like a lot. Now, I know Spotify and Anchor, they brag they have X amount of podcasts on their network. But what they don't really tell you is that a lot of them aren't even making new content. In fact, a lot of them are dead. Like maybe 5 episodes in, they decided to just quit. Now, I do have the data that actually proves how many shows are actually releasing episodes after a certain amount of time. So let's start with the biggest number they've got here. So you said it was 4,100,000 podcasts that were actually indexed. Now, of those 4 million, how many do you think actually released an episode within the last 90 days? Now, 90 days, that's 3 months. I think the longest gap we've ever taken with our podcast was probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months at the most. And at that point, it's wow, it feels like forever. 2 months off, not podcasting, felt like an eternity. Now, I can only imagine 3 months without doing a podcast. That's a very long time. So if you think of 3 months, you take a 3-month break. You could be taking a break, but there's a good chance you could just say, forget it, I'm done, not coming back. 3 months off. It's like, I remember when I was dating different girls, and if you didn't hear back from them within a week, they were on to the next. They were done, especially after a month. If you didn't hear back from that girl after a month, you went on a date a month later, nothing but crickets, it was time to move on. You're done. Now, they're saying 3 months here. So in 3 months' time, only 476,530. So 476,000 is what actually made a podcast within the last 90 days. Wait, that's a lot lower than 4 million. A lot lower. Yeah. So only 476,000 actually made an episode within the last 90 days. That's probably me, you, and anybody else. So basically, would you rather be 1 in 4 million or 1 in 400,000? But it gets even better. So check this out. So that was the last 90 days. Now, the difference between the last 90 days and the last 60 days, so shave an entire month off. So now we're down to just 2 months. So how many podcasts do you think released an episode within the last 2 months? Just one episode will last 2 months. That number drops down to 413,000. So you go from 476 down to 413. It's not a big jump, but it's still a little bit of a jump. It's whatever the number is. And it gets even lower the closer you get down to the day. So we went 60 days. The next number they have here is 30 days. Now, how many podcasts do you think released one episode within the last month? Just one episode within 1 month. So I know there are probably some shows out there that probably do a monthly show. Hey, that's fine. Yeah, you can do your podcast however you want to do it. It's your show. You do it however you want to do it. So they're saying within the last 30 days, only 334,000 podcasts release an episode within the last 30 days, at least one episode. So if you think about the original number of 4 million, we go from 4 million total podcasts. Now we're down to 330,000. So you're now within 330,000 if you released one episode within the last 30 days, which I think that's pretty easy to do one episode a month. That's super easy. I mean, even if it takes you 2 weeks to produce your episode, which, I mean, it can, however you want to do your show. It's your show. And so the next number we're going to jump to is 10 days. Now, that technically is less than 2 weeks, but more than a full week. So 10 days. How many podcasts do you think actually released one episode within the last 10 days? I know I did. I know we did for both shows. We released an episode within the last 5 days, actually, now I think about it. So within the last 10 days of those 400 million podcasts, how many of them actually released an episode within the last 10 days? The answer is only 235,000. Now you see a trend here. The number keeps getting lower and lower. So basically, if you released an episode within the last 10 days, you're only really competing with 235,000 different shows versus competing with 4 million shows. It sounds a little bit better to be in a little tighter niche like that. Now, the top number they have is within the last 3 days. Now, I have to think about this. Did I release an episode within the last 3 days. Our last episode on Chris and Christine, I think I released it Monday. So it's just outside that window by like 1 day. But it says here, within the last 3 days, how many shows do you think released an episode within the last 3 days? Now, if you are a daily show, I would assume you probably fall into this camp because you're constantly releasing episodes every day for the most part. So within the last 3 days, how many do you think it is? It's actually only 110,000. 110,000 shows were released, had an episode released within the last 3 days. Now, if you think about it, that is a pretty low number compared to the 4 million. So if you do a show, and you release an episode within the last 3 days, you're really only competing within those 110,000. So would you rather be a show competing between you and 110,000 other shows, or between you and 4 million other shows? I know the 4 million sounds big, and I know a lot of the shows, they're still like, their show's live, like you can go back and index it. I wish there's a way, I don't know if the different apps actually have this, but I wish there was a way to where when you actually like click on a show, if it tells you like when the show like went dark, you know, like this show didn't produce an episode since 2015 or something like that. And you're like, oh, well, I'm probably not going to watch this show or let me listen to this show because it's probably like whatever. I do know on YouTube, if you watch a YouTube video, it does tell you under the video, it does say, hey, this video was published on whatever day it was, or it'll say like 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, 1 month ago, like 9 years ago or whatever. Like, I don't think you really want to watch a tech show about something that you're trying to like, oh, here's the iPhone 4. It's brand new. And it's like so many years ago, the video is. You're like, yeah, what's this? You know, especially with technology, you really want to keep ahead of that. So you kind of want to watch something that's pretty recent. I try not to go back and look at stuff that's, especially technology-wise, go back like 9 years or 5 years, unless I'm trying to fix an old product. Like I had this old GoPro that is a GoPro Hero, and the Hero first came out, and I bought it because it was like a new camera or whatever. And I bought it probably like 2013, 2012, sometime around then. And it's obsolete, of course. And I can't get it to work. I can't get the charge or anything like that right now. I'm trying to figure out ways to fix it. And I Googled videos. There wasn't a lot, really. But I had to go back and try to find stuff, and that's how I did it. So now it comes to the fun part of the podcast today. You know, being that it's a fun podcast, I'm thinking, you know what? Let's throw caution to the wind and let's do what we want to do around here. It's all about having fun, and being that it is Friday.
It's Friday.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I am doing this entire show live in one take, in one shot. Like zero editing is going to be done on this show. It's going to be done. How am I doing this with zero editing? How am I doing all this stuff? Well, let me tell you, I'm just doing this to show you exactly how much fun we can have doing a podcast. I mean, it doesn't have to be all about like, super serious and super like buttoned up or whatever. You can have so much fun doing an entire podcast. Now, this is the way I'm doing this podcast today is exactly how the kids, when they were doing their podcast, they were having so much fun playing sound effects. Now, I'm creating this entire episode full of sound effects to kind of show you that sound effects can be fun, but at the same time, they also can be very annoying in your podcast. Like, I don't think that it's necessary to be dropping a ton of different sound effects in a podcast.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
Oh, well, thank you. You are so welcome. Oh, you thought that was funny, did you now? This is the part where we actually play with sound effects and just screw around with stuff and see what happens, you know? Like, if I'm going to be typing up here, typing my resume to my new job. What's my name? Chris. How do you spell that? Let's see. Type. So, but you can add sound effects to your show and do whatever you want to do. You know, hey, if you want to email me, by the way, it's PodtasticAudio@gmail.com. Maybe I'll hear this.
You've got mail.
Oh, thank you. I've got mail. Check that out. Wait, is that a bill?
No! God, please, no!
See? Sound effects can be so much fun when you're playing with them. When the kids did their show, they were just pushing buttons left and right. Like, this is one of their, I want to play one of their favorite clips they like to play. This is their favorite sound effect.
FBI, open up!
What? No, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And when the kids want to go running around, they do this. It's playing with sound effects can be so much fun, but also can be so annoying if you're constantly typing in sound effects and or pushing them on your episodes. It really can take a lot of work. Like I said, this entire show is done live in one take, in one shot.
Quit wasting my time.
Okay, I'm sorry. Gosh, I mean, I'm doing what I can here. I'm just playing around with stuff, It's just, if your show, like I said, if your show is your show, you can do it however you want to do it. Oh, thank you. I know one major sound effect that can be super, annoying, people use way too much, is probably like this one here. Oh, I am so sick of the air horn. No more air horns, please, please. Yeah, the kids agree. We all agree with that. No more air horns. Now you're thinking, how am I possibly doing all of these sound effects right here, on the podcast? How am I doing all this live in real time? Well, I just use the Force. I'm just kidding. No, it's all done with Clean Feed. Now I have the Clean Feed Pro account, which allows you to dump in as many clips, they call it, or sound effects as you want. As many as you want. I'm just looking here and see what I have. I dumped almost every sound effect I have on my computer. I was collecting them for a while just to see what I could find out. Let's see, what's this one here?
That's hot.
Oh, of course it is. Thank you so much. I'm just playing with these different sound effects here, and oh, what? Playing with stuff left and right, and like I said, your show is your show. You can do it however you want to do it. I've been doing this live like this. Otherwise, I'd have to insert every single sound effect in post-production. How long that would take? I know some of you do that with your show. And oh, I'm sorry, the crickets are annoyed. I'm talking right now. So, but yeah, if you have a podcast and you're doing your podcast, you're doing it your own way, you can do it how you want to do it. It's your show. Don't let me or anybody else tell you how to do your show. As long as you're having fun doing it, I think that's what really matters. And, recently I had this decision. I'm thinking about maybe upgrading to the brand new Rodecaster Pro, but you all know the Rodecaster Pro 2 does cost a little money. Yes, so what I'm going to try to do is I just sold my sports car. Yeah, I know some of you are... I know the wife saying that, she's a little excited. Everyone's kind of excited. I sold the sports car. It's kind of sad because I've had the car for a while now, and I got to thinking that maybe it's time for me to actually sell the car and not worry about it as much, because it was causing me some problems. I spent so much money fixing it. New clutch, new brakes, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, you know what? What's going to go wrong with the car next? So before it goes... something bad really happens to it, I said, what if I sell it right now? Maybe I actually can make some money selling it. So I did sell it, and today the new buyer officially came by. We did the full exchange. I signed over the title. He gave me the cashier's check. I went to the bank. I deposited it, all that stuff. So it's an official deal called the insurance. That's taken care of. So the car is officially, I don't have it anymore. It's sold. It's sad because it was my baby. It's gone, but now I got a big fat check in the bank, which is going to go pay for all the repairs I just spent fixing it. So it's like the circle of life, I fixed the car with the credit cards, and now I'm using the money from the car to pay for the credit cards. So it goes around and around. But it's good to be it's gone now. So now what I'm going to do is treat myself, I believe, to the new Rodecaster Pro 2. Because I thought about getting the Pro 1, but I'm like, you know what? Let's go big or go home. Let's get the major one. If we're going to get a new... Rodecaster Pro, I might as well get the real one and not get the basic one. Yes, that is correct. So if you have any questions about your podcast, or you want to talk about podcasting, or pretty much whatever you want to do, I do have the K2 Radio that's going on live, but it's on the Live 365 app where you can find it under K2 Radio. I'll put a link to it in the show notes of today's episode. So I've been doing that. That's been fantastic. I love doing radio. I love doing music, and I love doing podcasting and audio format stuff. I might start dabbling a little bit into video. It all takes time. I rarely have time to do that. To do a video properly, I would have to physically be showing you something. And in fact, I even thought about doing a video YouTube thing about the car. Now the car's gone. I don't know what to really film. I like the video, like vacation stuff and travel stuff and that sort of thing. It's kind of video stuff that I like to do. I mean, you can do however you want to do it. I'm not a big fan of I'm going to sit in front of the camera and do like a talking head show. I'm not a big fan of that. It's not really my thing. I mean, maybe I will later, but it's just not really my thing, So I like to just do the audio. Like I could be wearing whatever I want to wear. You don't have to see me. You don't know how many people are here. I can have a whole entire crowd here. Like everybody's here clapping and cheering. It's in the room. I know. Thank you. Sit down. Thank you. But because we are okay, I get it. All right. Okay. Thank you. But if you want to have a conversation with me, you're always welcome here on Podtastic Audio. Hit me up. It's all of the social media. I'm on Instagram under Podtastic Audio. I am also on Twitter under Podtastic Audio. And you can always reach me on the old email. It's on Gmail. It's on podtasticaudio@gmail.com. And you have yourself a fantastic rest of your week. You keep on making your fantastic podcast with your amazing audio. And I'll catch you next time.
That's all, folks.